signing, the 36-year-old who still signed up for another season and got the 27-year-old to come and join him, or the 27-year-old who's not from there, who's never played in his hometown, who said on a podcast recently, I'm not of the Lakers right now, and who was about to be a free agent, right? And you just signed him for 5 years. The 27-year-old who you just snapped up for the rest of his prime. The best years of AD's career are very likely now going to occur as a Los Angeles Laker. Clearly, it is the AD signing that is the bigger deal. Like, did I really think he was going to go anywhere? Nah, I didn't think AD was moving. I thought he was going to stay right there in L.A. But I knew LeBron wasn't going anywhere. I knew it because he had a contract. You knew LeBron was going to stay right there. But even just for right now, AD is locked up. And for the rest of the man's prime, the Lakers now have their next great big, who is going to be remembered now as the Los Angeles Laker. You know, the way Kareem is thought of as a Laker. Shaq is thought of as a Laker. Anthony Davis will be thought of as a Laker. He is the new great Laker big.
Anthony Davis is one of the top 3 players on the planet. He's big time, and I get where you're coming from with all the things that you pointed out. But to me, LeBron is a bigger deal only because of this. Everything about the Los Angeles Lakers is about LeBron James. Even the greatness of Anthony Davis shining through to a championship level is about LeBron James. We saw AD in New Orleans all of those years. He couldn't get past the second round. His first year with LeBron James, he is a champion. It's LeBron James reminding everybody that he's the best in the world. We got to take into account some of the things that we were saying. We wondered once upon a time whether anybody wanted to come and play with LeBron James, okay? We were talking about that when he first arrived with the Lakers, but AD ultimately ends up coming on board. There is leadership that was exhibited from day one until the final day. The continuity, the consistency, the togetherness, the cohesiveness, all of that was due in large part to LeBron James. It's not to say that Anthony Davis had nothing to do with that, because we know better. And we also understand that Anthony Davis, with LeBron having him to lean on, was a big, big thing. They don't win the championship without Anthony Davis. We get all of that. There were times in the bubble where we looked at him and said, this dude is the best player on the planet, not LeBron James, because of the way that AD was playing at times. We get all of that. But in the end, when you talk about a model of consistency, shooting 49% from the field, nearly 35% from three-point range, leading the league in assists at age 35, 36 years of age, averaging 10.2 per game, and of course the 25 a game, making the necessary sacrifices when called upon, stepping up for the challenges when called upon, exhibiting a consistent level of leadership that even Magic Johnson stood back and applauded time and time again. You take all of those things into consideration, along with the distractions, Kobe Bryant's unfortunate and devastating passing, the stoppage of league play, ultimately it being reignited, and then the social justice issues that took place to the point where teams and players were contemplating not even playing at all, with one of them being the Los Angeles Lakers. All of these distractions, all of these things that happened, it ended up being an Achilles heel for the Los Angeles Clippers, who felt like they were together enough if the season hadn't stopped for them to really, really make a run. But once they came back, some of them didn't want to come back, et cetera, et cetera. The Lakers, no matter what happened, even with Avery Bradley electing not to play and participate in bubble play, everything you look at, it's not just about the play on the court. It's about leadership. And when LeBron James signs on board to say, I want to be here, essentially saying, I want to end my career here, it also elevates the profile of the Lakers in this regard, Max. It reminds us all that the Lakers, when you are a star and you produce for them, there is no controversy. They take care of their own. And that's the message they sent to Anthony Davis. And they sent it again with LeBron James, which made it that much easier for him to commit to the 5 years, $190 million max.
36 years old this month. His career earnings thus far, $435 million. So he will be an owner of an NBA team. Now, that's in Cleveland, would they own an NBA team? Trust and believe that.
How about that? He's always talked about being a mogul. There's nothing bigger than that.
He always thinks about his business. I mean, even the other day on the podcast, he was talking about he wanted to bring on Luka Doncic to be the first LeBron James shoe. Like he wanted that to do that internally within Nike before Michael Jordan got it. He's always thinking about his business and his properties that way.
It's a great point. Speaking of Michael, Michael had a couple sons that played basketball, and I can only imagine the pressure on these guys. And your dad is the GOAT, the greatest player to ever dribble a basketball. But his son Marcus and his son Jeffrey played. Most notably, they had a little bit of a stint. UCF, transferred to Illinois, but obviously, the mantle that dad set, the bar that dad set, so difficult for both Marcus and Jeffrey, who have been successful in their lives, just not the way, obviously, their dad was on the court. LeBron James has a 16-year-old son you may have heard about named Bronny. He's a sophomore in high school, and this extension for LeBron, the 2 years, will get him to 2022, 2023, right around the time that Bronny would be eligible to join the NBA. LeBron was on the Uninterrupted podcast, which he has a financial stake in. Speaking of mogul, always got his hands in something, right? He is a businessman, as Jay-Z would say. You guys probably didn't think I knew that. But LeBron essentially weighing in and essentially saying about a year and a half ago that I don't care how many titles I win. I don't care if I go back to Cleveland and win one. I don't care if I win one with the Lakers, whatever. The best thing that could ever happen to me on a basketball court, no matter how many Larry O'Briens I hoist, would be this.
What was the greatest achievement of my life? If I'm on the same court as my son in the NBA, that will be number one in my lifetime as an NBA player. Play together or play against.
Jay, is this a possibility of happening?
He's LeBron James. He's arguably the greatest player to ever play the game, regardless of whether you have him 1, 2. I know Paul Pierce has him in the, just barely in the top 5, which is ludicrous, by the way. But still,
it is.
It's the greatest player in the game. So my thing is, Bronny James.
I know, but I'm just hearing it again.
Well, that's Paul Pierce. That's a whole other different conversation. I don't want to go on a tangent. Let's get back here to what we were talking about. All I'm saying is Bronny James is in a position to go to a top-tier college. If he goes to a top-tier college and if he plays decently, consider he continues to develop, he'll be being in the G League, being overseas. But this reality of business is all about relationships. It's all about relationships. You cannot tell me, now that could be with the Lakers or it could be with another organization, that a team would not draft Bronny James, granted he keeps developing, okay?
That's the key.
In order for him to potentially say, hey, maybe your dad would like to come here and play with you at the tail end of his career. That would do, and Key just talked about this, the incentivization. Is that even a word? I just made it up. I said it.
It is now.
It is now. For a team to do that, to say, come to my organization, increase the value of my organization, fill the seats with fans, and play with your son and live out your dream at the tail end. If the Lakers can't do that, some organization will take a chance on Bronny James to do that.
As long as he continues to develop, I mean, it's hard. Look, he's not a 6'7" freshman. You know what I'm saying? He's a smaller guard that's a freshman in high school that has some time to develop into his body. When you think about LiAngelo Ball 6 years ago was a itty-bitty dude.
You mean LaMelo?
I mean LaMelo. LaMelo.
Yeah. There's a lot of balls.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. He was a small. Now he's a 6'7.5", 6'8" guard. Mm-hmm. So as he continues to grow and get better at it, then yes, I'm an owner of the Sacramento Kings, for instance. Just use that team. I'm willing to sign LeBron James to help me build an infrastructure, fan base, whatever it is that we're looking for at that time. And if I draft his son and bring him on the team, that son, obviously, we're not just drafting a guy because he's walking down the street. He's got to have some ability to be able to play, right? And so you would think that LeBron James and his crew is making sure that his son is developing at that level where he'll be able to live that dream.
I hope he continues to develop. But Bronny James does not need to be 6'7" to be drafted. You can draft.
No, you
Bronny,
don't need to be 6'7". I'm just saying, as you continue, because he's so young, how hard is it to evaluate somebody in the 9th grade?
No, I think he's a sophomore.
He's a sophomore. 10th grade.
10th grade.
Yep.
All I'm going to say, though, is let's say hypothetically, and this won't happen because obviously being around great players and having access to the resources and facilities, his game will continue to blossom, continue to develop. But let's say hypothetically his game doesn't develop and it stays the same. Maybe he just grows a couple inches. Maybe he's 6'3", 6'4". You're going to take a chance on him in the second round because of the opportunity. because of the opportunity that LeBron James might come to your organization. I'm just saying if you're an owner or or a GM, you're looking at this differently, especially if he doesn't develop in the later in the second round. So many teams stash people in overseas for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, let him develop.
Yeah, you're telling me you wouldn't do that with Bronny James for the opportunity to bring LeBron James to your organization to increase awareness? You talk about an injection or an infusion of energy with Russell Westbrook going to D.C. Why wouldn't you look at this situation the same thing if you're an owner or GM?
I think that's a great point.
No, you do. And to my note, the only professional athlete father-son duo was Ken Giffrey Jr. That's the only one that I can think. I've been sitting here trying to think. I know there's a lot of fathers who's played, whether it's Michael Thompson and Clay or the Berry family, but not at the same time.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I want to give you some context on age. You mentioned LeBron here at 36 and what essentially is going to happen when